Başladım.
E, fakat abi
Müte basayım.
tamam. Saniye abi. Bence sen direkt başla.
Okay, Ozan, no problem. No problem. I can hear you. Can everybody hear me? Can everybody hear me? Just before I start, can you mute yourself, Ozan, please? Ozan, can you mute yourself, please? Test, test, test. I can hear myself. Hold on. Test, test, test. Can you hear me? 1 second, please. Before I start, I think I have to change one little thing here. Test, test, test. Can you hear me? 6:55. Why I can hear myself from the old recording? Test, test, test. Can you hear me? 6:55. Alright, now I know what's wrong. Beautiful. Can everybody see the screen? Ozan, can you see the screen, full screen?
Yes, we are hearing you actually. I think you had to mute your Zoom.
Ozan, can you see the screen, full screen? I think I will do that right now before we start.
Just mute your Zoom, please.
I'm logged out, unfortunately.
Yes, we are hearing.
1 second, please. Right now, before we start.
That's perfect.
Alright. I think now it's fine. I go back before we start. And this time should be fine. Alright. Testing. Can everybody still hear me? Beautiful. I want to see. Oh yeah, it does. Okay. Hello everyone. Welcome to Learn Social Engineering webinar. I would like to thank to Keepnet Labs for organizing this. And I would like to apologize for the technical issues that we had in the original scheduled time. Unfortunately, a couple of stuff are blocked in Dubai, and this software is one of those. I had to come to the office to reschedule it, but here I am, here we are, and we are here to explain you what social engineering is, how we can learn social engineering, what you should be aware of, and what kind of technologies are there today to minimize the effect of social engineering. Who am I? For the people, for the attendees that don't know me, I'm Erdal Özkaya. I work at Microsoft as cybersecurity architect. I got a couple of master's degree beside my PhD. I have many certifications, and I did also a couple of courses as well on security. So, what is the agenda for today? The main agenda of today is going to be, of course, social engineering. What is social engineering? What are the types of social engineering? And while we're there, I'm going to give you many real example cases from social engineering. Then I want to move to a different aspect of social engineering, red team social engineering. So if you're a penetration testing company, or if you're a penetration tester, how is social engineered performed? And of course, it is never a good session if we don't talk against defensive actions on social engineering, what kinds of effective solutions are there, and to make this webinar a bit more fun, of course we're gonna give a couple of ebooks away. If you wonder which ebook that we're gonna give away, of course the one called Learn Social Engineering, which actually I'm talking also about Keepnet Labs as well. Not because they are sponsored or anything else, because I really like the product and I believe they are helpful. By the way, if you go to my blogs, you will get some of these books for free, such as Defense Against Terrorism Review. But again, if you want to learn social engineering book from Pact, the ebook, please make sure you tweet the tags that I'm going to show you. Don't forget, in that book, yes, I wrote around 400 pages. Many other people did contribute based on their experiences, such as Troy Hunt, Jonathan Troll, Paula, Hussein, Marcus, and everybody else you see here. I'm pretty sure you know Troy Hunt, or the ex-CISO of New York Police Department, Mr. Demirkaya, or one of the directors of Keepnet Labs, Ozan Wilby, did contribute in the book. So if you want this book, all what you have to do is follow the hashtag, which you're gonna see in few seconds in the screen, and this is also the best way to keep in touch with me as well, as you can see. So what is social engineering? This is how you can keep in touch with me, and if you want to win the book, please use the hashtag Learn Social Engineering and Keepnet Labs. Tweet about the session, tweet about the thoughts about social engineering, and 2 lucky winners gonna get the book for free. All what you have to do is, again, hashtag Learn Social Engineering and Keepnet Labs, and of course you can hashtag or tag me as well in the session. But let's talk about social engineering. What is social engineering? It is basically the art of human hacking, the deception of, this deception of the art of deception. Basically, it is making people to believe what you want them to believe. You all know what hackers do. Hackers usually write malware. You can call it a Trojan, you can call it an ATP, you can call it whatever you like, and they use different techniques to hack computers. What social engineering is, it is using different techniques to hack human brain, and instead of stealing data from a computer, with social engineering you'll be able to steal anything you like from humans. Of course, our aim is not to steal. We are not trying to teach you here how to steal, more how to protect against social engineering. Social engineering can be performed in many different acts. The first step, of course, is going to be information gathering. So you have to know your target. You have to know your target so well that the target should never ever be able to identify that you're trying to the hacker is trying to steal the information from you. The more you know, the more you can hack your victim. Of course, to be able to know, you have to do deep research. How? You can use many different computer tools such as Maltego. How? You can use, for example, social engineering tool set, the set in Kali, or you can go to social engineering website where you can use the tools which is publicly available, some for free, some for small cost. Then you can use also social media, which is still a heaven of information about most of the target. If nobody has Facebook or Twitter, at least they have LinkedIn. If not, use Google hacking. Or what is Google hacking? You can just it's a database where you can utilize your Google search skills to find whatever you want to find. Yes, even if you are not in social media, somehow you might be ending up in Google. An example, I can give you an example straight away. I remember I was teaching a certified ethical hacking class many years ago in Australia, and I was in a military base, and one of the gentlemen who's a surgeon told me that there is no way I can find them on social media. When I performed basic Google search, yes, I couldn't find them. Then I asked for some time. I started to use my Google hacking skills, and guess what? I found this gentleman who works in the Air Force, the Australian Air Force, who won an award many years ago, and he ended up in a local newspaper. When I pulled him up and said, "Hey, is this not you? Is this not your award?" He was shocked, and he thought he deleted everything from Google because based on his job, he had to be secret. So, information gathering is an important aspect of social engineering important aspect of information gathering. What is illustration? This is the process of extracting information or data from people. Let's say, actually I got an example right after the slide, so I'm gonna hold here for a few seconds. What is pretexting? Pretexting is the act of creating an invented scenario to pressure a targeted victim to release information or perform some action. So, if I want to steal your data, if I want your password, if I come to you and ask you for your password, will you give me your password? Most probably no. But what if I send you a phishing attack which looks like from your organization, and this phishing attack is crafted so well that it is actually sometimes looking better than your own IT's help desk email, which you believe and click and unfortunately get hacked. I know, most of the people there in this seminar probably know about this, but I want you to think about the end users that you are responsible to protect. Not yourself. I know somehow if you're in this seminar, most probably you know the basics of social engineering, but how does your employee who is in remote site sitting in a mining station is aware of these attacks? Mind tricks. Again, the other thing is gaining trust of a human. The more you trust yourself and gain the right actions, you can use the mind tricks and gain access. This I'm going to give a couple of more examples in the upcoming slides. What is persuasion? This is basically to get your target to react, think, and do exactly what you want. I can give you an example again. Just let's start actually with the example. When you look in my screen, what are you seeing? If I'm not wrong, you are seeing a white tiger, right? Because I want you to believe that you are seeing a white tiger, the face of white tiger. So let's look in the next screen, and you will see actually it is not a white tiger. It is a white tiger combined with a human. So this is just an illustration in computer, but is not the same in real life. When you receive a phishing email, it doesn't look like it is sent for you from company X. When you get a phone call and someone telling you they're calling from Windows, notice from Windows, not Microsoft, and they try to install something into your computer, don't you believe? Or when we look in other cases, such as this one, in my next slide you're going to be able to see it, but actually before I go there, I want you to explain you what kinds of social engineering can be done. I mean, some different books have different aspects of that. In my book, I try to minimize it in 3 sections. 1, human-based. 2, computer or mobile-based social engineering. Human-based is basically poisoning as a legitimate end user. This is to poison a legitimate end user. We want the identity, we want the sensitive information, and we pretend to be someone else. Same thing happens, and I think this happened to a Turkish prime minister many years ago. She was called Tansu Çiller. Someone called Selçuk Parsalan pretended to be ex-military, actually important military staff, and he pretended that he was collecting some fundraising, and back then he was able to social engineer a couple of $1 million from prime minister. Or I'm pretty sure you heard poisoning of the poisoning as a technical support, which you receive a phone call. Hi sir, this is this is Matthew calling from company X. Last time we had a system crash, and we are resetting your passwords. Unfortunately, we cannot see your password. Can you please give us your password? Sounds legitimate, right? When we look in your computer base, this could be a pop-up. Congratulations, you won. Or this could be a hoax letter. Forward this email to 500 other guys and Facebook will give you $500 million. Or if you don't forward this email to 20 of your contacts, then your most loud person is gonna die tonight. Or chain letters. Or instant chat messenger spams. Or these days you receive a lot from a third party. I mean, in Facebook, even in Skype or WhatsApp. These days, spam messages started to rise up, and of course, our famous spam emails, which we're gonna talk in details. So let's start. I want you to think. Let's think about your best operating system, Windows 10. I love it. Yes, I know. I work for Microsoft. But Windows 10 with Defender ATP, with Defender Antivirus, with Device Guard, with Application Guard, and top of it, Windows S Mode. Basically, one of the most secure operating system in the universe, with the best firewall, with best security policies, you name it, and no internet at all to make your life a bit easier, and with top encryption. Versus human error. Who do you think will win? All the security measures that you implemented, or that human error will cause you the trouble? Do you want an example? Think about Tesla. The CEO and creator of Tesla, Elon Musk, we all agree is a smart guy. He's so smart, he can ship a car to the space, but he couldn't protect his company against insiders. He was not able to think about the right security policies against insiders. As a result, I mean, you read it all in the news, right? There is not much to talk about. So, why are we victims of social engineering? I want to start from the beginning. When I ask you when social engineering has started, what would you say? I'm checking the chat box. I can see some people saying 60 years ago, 40 years ago when Microsoft was created. No, definitely not. What else? Different answers. No, not 200 years ago. For me, social engineering started with Adam and Eve, the first human. This is based on my belief, and you are totally free to believe or not, and I'm not trying to impose you my beliefs. On the religion that I believe, Adam and Eve has existed, and most religions do believe in that. So, based on the story, Adam and Eve, they were in heaven. They had everything what they wanted. Everything. I mean, why are we today trying to be a good person? If you're a believer, to go to a better side in the other world. And this is, for some people, they call it heaven. Some people don't. I mean, even if you don't believe it, all my respect, I'm just telling you a story which I want to think about. So back to Adam and Eve. They had everything they could do, but they were not allowed to touch that tree. I mean, the religion calls it devil. I call it social engineer. Where the social engineer, I mean, the devil went to Eve saying, hey Eve, you know what? Look, I know you got everything, but that tree, you know why you're not allowed to touch it? He social engineered Eve to get that fruit. I mean, in some books it's called apple, some books the definition is not there, but what I'm trying to tell you is we can be victims of social engineering because of Adam and Eve. It's in our DNA. So there is going to be always a way where social engineer is going to be able to hack us. So we have to keep this in mind. There is no 100% protection, but we can do many other stuff to minimize the risk. You don't believe me? Okay, let's look in the news. Let's look in the news. They are all recent screenshots. The one that you see is from computerweek.com. I think it's 2 weeks old, and it says social engineering confirmed as top information security threat. Again, I repeat, and I know you can read it yourself. Social engineering confirmed as top information security threat. Symantec 6 days ago, 1 week ago, they posted again social engineering climbing. Kaspersky just this week found out that 10 million in Ethereum was stolen over the past year via social engineering tricks. What is Ethereum? It is sort of Bitcoin. It is basically digital currency. If you check Microsoft website, if you check ESET website, if you check many other security websites or isaka.org, you will see that social engineering, it is still in top of mind, and it is really hard to protect against. Here's a screenshot that you will see. I did deliver with actually my co-authors Marcus Murray and Hassan Al-Kasatri a session at Ignite 2015. I think it was in Chicago in US. Based on the session, I was hacked live while I was on stage. No problem. And of course the Wolf, the Hussein and Marcus did hack me, and of course it was a setup. The idea there was saying, hey, you know what, I wrote so many security books, so many security certification, even I can get hacked. Then one of the people out of 4,000 people, that lady here, said, hey, this is when we went to the Q&A section, said, hey, this is a setup. I said, yes, it was a setup, but if you really want, please come to the stage and we can hack you on the dot. She said, you know what, I'm using Microsoft Surface, no problem. And she said, my USB drive is been locked. I said, no problem. What I did is, what actually Marcus, I and Hassan did is, we emulated that USB to look like a attached keyboard. So when the USB was plugged, Surface thought it was a keyboard. As a result, we were able to execute our 0-day. As a result, we were able to hack her live less than 5 seconds. And of course, this was a fastened social engineering, but if you watch again one of my other sessions at Ignite, back then TechEd, I was presenting a social engineering session, and I asked the audience, you know what, who wants to win a dinner with Tina Turner and Satya Nadella, our CEO. Actually, I wasn't even working back then to Microsoft, but I said, we have to, I'm going to ask a couple of questions. All what you have to do is answer it right. As a result, towards the end of the session, I asked the questions. After delivering 75 minutes full social engineering session, I selected one random winner. I called him to the stage and said, do you mind if I get your ID, please? And of course, the victim said, why? I said, hey, you're going to meet Tina Turner and CEO of Microsoft. So, for security reasons, we have to make sure that you got clearance. He gave me his ID. Few seconds later, I decided to call my insurance company saying, hi, hello insurance company, how are you? Finally, I got the ID of the guy who hit my car, and I'm giving the driver license details. Of course, the guy panicked, said, "No, I didn't hit your car." I said, "Why did you trust me?" He said, "But you were doing, you said this, because I wanted you to think this. Even after social engineering session, you were able to be victim. If you think this is just happens in a conference, no. I remember doing a red teaming activity in a bank in Australia, which I cannot name you. Same thing happened there. So, social engineering is easier than you think, and it can be performed in many different ways. So, here's an option. What is easier to hack? You, the world's best hacker, versus Microsoft, or Google, or Apple, or you name it, or find a victim, a person, a human, and try to hack this person. The option is yours. For the first one, you need deep technical skills, lots of money, lots of research. Where with the second one, all what you have to do is a couple of days effort and guaranteed result to get. Which one would you like to choose? And I want to start here with a famous case. Remember, with the tiger picture, I was talking about mind tricks. This famous case is based on Paris Hilton. I think you all know her. She's a magazine figure. She's the granddaughter of Hilton Hotels. Very shortly, you're gonna see a wristband, a red wristband. What do you think this is? I just said it's a red wristband. Do you think this will take you in Paris Hilton's birthday party where you can steal her cake? Again, who's Paris Hilton? A very famous magazine figure, the granddaughter of Hilton's, and as you can guess, she will have lots of security. Look at this. You will see the cake, which I think cost $3,000, and this cake was stolen from the party. You don't believe me? Again, how was it stolen? Via simple social engineering. If you look my next screenshot, you will see also that Paris Hilton was not victim just one time. She was victim a few times where her phone the social engineer said, "Hey, I stole Paris Hilton birthday cake to give it to the homeless." But was it the only time? No. Unfortunately, she and many other celebrities were hacked many times. I'm pretty sure you will remember the iCloud hack, which was which social engineered, which many famous people were social engineered, and as a result their phone was hacked, and as a result their nude pictures were leaked to the internet. Alright, this is easy to say, but what else is happening as phishing? As you remember, spam or phishing was one of the computer-based social engineering attacks. By the way, I'm keeping an eye on my chat box. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask questions. I can see more and more people start to join. Thank you very much again, and thank you for Keepnet Lab for organizing this. So, back to the topic. Let's talk about the real case study, which actually Microsoft worked. We call it Strontium. This Strontium attack was targeting a government employee. Actually, an employee who works for NATO. It's a government organization, at least. You know, the North Atlantic organization, which unites countries. There was a diplomat in Middle East was targeted, and as you can see, the email actually you will see right now the email had a URL which was looking like a news website. As soon as the victim clicked on that link, it was taking the victim to the NATO website. Yes, but with one difference. It was a replica of that website, and it had a 0 day. That news website had an article to NATO which took that diplomat's attention, which the diplomat clicked, and as a result the 0-day run, and look at this. It was looking like a Oracle Java update, but it was 0-day. So you will see when the victim has clicked, when the backdoor was installed, when pass the hash happened. So what was pass the hash again? Basically stealing your credentials from the memory and being able to be from a stranger to a domain administrator within less than 24 to 48 hours and explore the network. And in this case, again, I'm not going through technical details, but it was looking like psw.exe, and it did bypass many operating system defenses. So what happened? The anatomy of attack is the email was sent, the victim clicked into the email. As soon as the email was loaded, the website, the user was taken to a offset website, 0-day was run, and end of game. So why I'm talking about this? Do you think it's different today? As I said, based on ISACA, which is the Information Security Organization, one of the biggest in the world, still 70% of these attacks are effective. Oh, there's the email. Sorry, this email is supposed to be a few minutes ago in the screenshot. I think I just missed the order. I'm really sorry for that. But look at this email. Does it look legitimate to you? Sent by Gmail. Look at the URL, natoint.com, which is very similar to the real one, but it's not. And if you go on top of it, unfortunately this is the PDF version of the slides, I'm not going to be able to do that, you will see that actually it was not the case. What happened is, as soon as the victim clicked on the email, the exploit did run. Once the exploit run, the victim was diverted to the legitimate NATO website and unfortunately did not notice anything. So if you think this will not happen to you, based on Verizon data breach report, which you can download the 2017, even 2018 version 1, you will see that there is still, sending emails cheap. All what you have to do is get a bot, let it scan Google, collect every possible open email address, millions of them, send them to millions of people. The return of cost is really, really cheap. From there, 23 people will open it. Unfortunately, nearly half of them will open the attachment. And the scary part of it is that 6 of them will do this within first hour. If you think this will happen only in small organizations and not in bigger ones, again, I'm here to prove you wrong. This is a phishing example which hit the Australian government. You will see that unfortunately many people from that government, even though I'm proud Australian as well as with Turkish roots, I can tell that the maturity level in Australia is quite high, but hundreds if not thousands of people were affected. Taiwan government, it was not different. Korea government, actually this is a Korea corporation, I cannot share the name, was the same. Philippine government was the same. Russian government, look, this is really funny. If you watch the news yesterday, Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin did meet, and as you know, Russia has been accused to mix their nose into the American governments, where of course they deny it. I really don't know if it happened or not. It's not of my business. But even this country, who can be accused to hacking a country like America, was a victim of a phishing attack. So, unfortunately, the demo is not going to work here, but we are going to do a offline recording probably with demos. I think Oz will record this later for you. As soon as the user receives the phishing and clicks on it, in the other side you will see that the reverse shell will be opening and the attacker is going to have full access to the victim's machine, unless they are using Windows 10 with the latest defense mechanism. So this is the first part of my session, and now let's talk about, unless you have some questions, let me check the chat box. Any questions? Good, no questions so far. I'm just checking one more time. Beautiful. What is red team social engineering? I think you all understand what red teaming, what blue teaming is. Red teaming is basically your own hackers or penetration testing within your organizations, which will try to do everything what hackers do. But the only difference is, with the hacker, when a hacker comes in, they will either steal or disrupt your environment, where the red team will just gain some points, and of course you have a blue teams who defends against this. So the red team will attempt to breach each of the channels to the.
So we had many questions, but
sorry.
Wait end of your meeting that we'll ask you.
What is red okay, beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. We have a couple of questions which is coming in, but I will get these questions later and answer them for you. No worries. So as I said, red team social engineering is done by penetration testers. If you don't have a red team yourself, you can use a company such as TrueSec, for example, or you can use a company such as Keepnet Lab. They will do some simulated phishing attack as well, but I'm gonna leave this to the end. And Keepnet Lab, they can speak about it themselves. Or if you want to get some good example from Microsoft, which I work for, we have some attack playbooks where you can launch and learn as well, and you will see how Windows Defender ATP will protect against it. But again, this is integrated to Windows, but we will talk about it later. So how is an attack happening? So in a red teaming, of course you're gonna aim humans, but before that you have to understand how the network environment is. If they have wireless, what their desktop environment is, if they're using Windows, if yes, which version of Windows, Mac, which version of Mac, Linux, which version of Linux. You have to learn the internal system, the infrastructure that you want to compromise, and of course find out the high value targets. Again, if you remember, social engineering can be used in various parts. The aim is exactly as in Paris Hilton's attack. The aim in Paris Hilton's attack was basically getting into the birthday party and stealing the cake. Where here, you want to plant maybe something inside the network and you want to gain access to that network. For that, you might use an air channel to the target environment without traversing the security components in the perimeter network. So, how is this going to happen? The scenario is simple. All what you want to do is do the same thing, which is there nearly for 20 years. Pretend to be a service technician from the support organization. And how do you know they have one? Don't forget, this is red teaming activity. You know the network inside out. Write an email and explain in that email that you're doing, for example, asset verification. So, if you remember risk management, what was risk management? So you should know the assets, you should know the threats, the vulnerabilities, and you can do a risk analysis, right? So, back to our topic. Pretend you are the technical service guy and you're doing assessment. Okay, for that, go ahead, create a domain for sending email. Try to make it legitimate as much as possible. Don't try to send it from Gmail. I mean, it's really cheap to buy these days a legitimate domain account. And if you make it too visible, it will most probably detect it by the anti-spam. If not, anti you call it defense mechanism. So there could be an easier way. If you can hack another server which accepts relay, that will be even easier. And yes, unfortunately, 2018 December, I think today is the 17th, this is still possible. Now, to find the website which will host the inventory tool, of course, this inventory tool is going to be fake. So when your victim clicks onto this link and goes to that website, the website has to look legitimate. The website has to look maybe internal. So you as social engineer gain the trust. So you're gonna look as the as the sheep, but you are actually the wolf behind it. Now, send identities. It has to be good as is as well. Alright, what is the best source to find who's working where? Of course, a platform which is owned by us, Microsoft. LinkedIn. If not, many different countries has many different social platforms where you can gain information. If you really want, you can buy a SIM card, you can even register it. If not, you can use some VoIP tools which will look like a legitimate organization. Then create the code to be downloaded. And again, make sure you know what kind of IDS they are using, if they have any intrusion detection system. In this case, this is an attack from which my friends Hussein and Marcus used. They customized PowerShell to call a true shell. You know, they're from TrueSec, and they knew that the IDS was not creating any triggers for JPEG files because it was basically chewing up the performance, and it was, you know, leaving gaps for attacks. So what they did is they created a JPEG file, and they called domain fronting, which is a technique which looked like a communication was going to non-high repetition domain, and the attack actually the code was hidden inside a JPEG file which the IDS did not detect. Once the email was sent, of course the user did not click on it. Few hours has passed, few days, actually 1 day has passed, nothing happened. Now remember, we asked you to have also SIM card ready or a VoIP service, and find out, you know, where that user is, in which building. What you can do is you can call this organization, ask for that users, you know, somehow they will connect, the reception will connect to that user, which happened in this attack by the way, and tell them that, hey, I'm Matthew from that service company, which you call company X, and an email was sent 2 days ago, and you were doing an inventory assess, but guess what? Nothing happened, and you need an urgent action. You can, to make it look like more legitimate, you can easily give some other names, and you can refer them to the website where they can look into it. Guess what? 2 minutes after we hang the phone, the user clicked into this email and the attack has launched. Okay, when is it usually good time to launch attack? Just before employees go home, just before public holiday, just when when you know he or she is extremely busy and will not think about every single details. I mean, if you call someone at 10 a.m. Tuesday morning, most probably that user is not going to be victim, and I will ask some other question. But if you call Friday right after lunch, where that user is counting hours to go home, guess what will happen? The result, as I said, 2 minutes after we hang up, we noticed that the tool was downloading using the link in the email, which was basically the attack vector. What happened is, we had a domain. We sent a phishing attack. We called the user because the user was smart enough not to click into this email maybe. And as a result, we were able to steal the information. In summary, this is exactly what happens to organizations. The threat actor targets an employee via phishing campaign. The employee opens the email. One workstation will be compromised. With lateral movement, the whole organization might be compromised. There will be a command and control, and this will happen all within the first hour. In my case, it didn't happen in the first hour, but we were able to convince the victim to work for me without he or she knowing. So, the key learnings. It is really hard to distinguish between legit and illegit emails or phone calls. Classic attacks are still valid. I mean, I gave you the example from Microsoft. I gave you the example from Kaspersky and all other software companies. Unfortunately, this is still legit, and people still get hacked. And we have a great case study in my book. If you really want to go, you can read it as well. You need, as a social engineer, good preparation. The more you know, the better you do, the better chance you have to compromise the victim. And if you have a zero-day custom malware, it will most probably not detected by the antivirus or IDS. And this was the first part of the attack. Now, which one was easier? Me trying to hack Google and try to steal your password, or me doing this and try to get the password from you? I can hear your answers. So, how can you do that? Go create a fake Twitter account. In this case, try to be the SharePoint expert. Maybe try to aim SharePoint employees, which works for Microsoft. You can create Facebook group. You can create, I know these days Facebook and Twitter are working against bot, but you can go buy. You used to be go and buy some bot accounts. Look like a legitimate user with a couple of million accounts. Now try to fill a block where it looks like SharePoint user. Call the reception. Ask to get the phone number of the employee. Even if not, ask the receptionist to connect you to this employee. Now try to set up a meeting. Once the meeting has been accepted, because that user is gonna check your profile, your Twitter, your LinkedIn account, saying that, believe it or not, I just had a job offer, even though I love working for Microsoft, a few days ago from a company, and the recruiter said, we checked your LinkedIn account, we checked your Twitter account, we believe you are a great candidate to our company. Can you, if you're interested, can you please respond back to this email? I'm like, no thank you. Then I noticed they pinged me again from LinkedIn. I said, you know what, it might be a nice phishing attack, and I knew this presentation was coming. I said, yeah, sure, can you please write an email to me from your company email account? And I gave them my test Outlook account, which I have, and guess what? It was a legitimate email. Then I was hoping to find a nice example to this session, but unfortunately, or fortunately, it was a real job offer from a security company actually, which I said thank you very much, I'm not interested because I love what I'm doing at the moment, but at least I gained 2 new friends. What happened is, let's assume I didn't check this detail and I give an appointment. They will come here to Microsoft Office, and I will take them inside to our guest area, and they will have a temp badge. As a result, they will be inside the building. And not every building has the security measures that we use in Microsoft. And here's a couple of more examples for you. This is, I forgot to do something here. This is, I know it's blurred here. You will see that I blurred the organization name. I went to East Timor. Unfortunately, you're not going to be able to see the previous pass which I had, because last minute I noticed that this platform is not able to, actually I couldn't run the PowerPoint. That's why I converted in PDF, but I forgot to change it. I had a visitor pass in East Timor in that organization where I needed an escort to work inside the buildings. But after a while I was really sick of it, and I said, you know what, I cannot always wait outside. It's too hot. It's a bit dangerous to be in East Timor by yourself. I want a card, a guest pass, which I don't need an escort. They said, oh, you cannot do that. I said, yes, I can. I gained all the information which I needed. Then I went to that card department and I used my social engineering tricks. Unfortunately, you are not seeing the previous slide deck, which was a standard guest pass. When I went in, I started screaming. I started to abuse people. I threw a couple of important names. I threatened people to fire or to give me that pass. Guess what happened? I received the pass that you're seeing, and I know I have some blurring here because I don't want you to see the organization, which made me go there. That's why I blurred. So it's not fake. It is 100% real, and I spoke about this in many other conferences. So you can use social engineering in real life. Why? Because there is no patch to human stupidity. You can patch your computers, you can patch your firewalls, your security appliances, your phones, you name it, but you cannot patch humans. So what can you do? What can you do against these kinds of attacks? First of all, you should use defense in depth layered model. Of course, you have to have strong policies, procedures, training, but we all know it's really hard to implement unless the users really understand it. When it comes to physical security, where you manage your premises, your resources, you can easily put the security measures there. I don't see any issues. When it comes to data, yes, you can have, for example, encryption, where people like Edward Snowden cannot steal the data and take it out and share it with the world. Remember a few minutes ago I talked about Tesla, which couldn't protect against insiders because they were not using technologies such as just-in-time administration or just enough administration, which is part of Windows 10 and so 2016. Or they didn't have any Windows Defender ATP where you could track the attack. When it comes to host, again, it's really much easier to protect because all what you have to do is enforce the security, the identity, and the passwords. Implement multi-factor authentication. And guess what? You are a bit more secure. For your internal network, depends on what you're using, create zones. Your most trusted zone should have enhanced security administration and attack against credential theft. Then your other, you should have a DMZ zone, you should have multiple different zones with maybe some VLANs, with, if you have a WAN or Wi-Fi, with the right protections, with terminators, with perimeter network where you can enforce security. But, is this all? What else can be done? That's the question. For what else can be done, I'm gonna leave my microphone to Keepnet Labs, but one of the other things which you can do is, of course, is attending seminars like that. But I told you what happened I told you what happened in TechEd, which is back then TechEd or Microsoft Ignite, which is a high level. It's not a DEF CON, but it is. Some sessions are deep dive as DEF CON as well. Saying that, I did deliver some cert conferences. I spoke in a couple of cert conferences here in Middle East, back when I was living in Australia, in Europe, and every time, even they knew who I am, I was able to expose the user because I wanted them to believe what I wanted to expose them. Saying that, this brings me to the end of this presentation, and now I'm gonna go to the Q&A section. Okay, now I'm going to the Q&A sections. Let me open the questions so I can read the questions. Oz, do you have some questions that you can read for me while I'm opening my questions? One of the questions that I see here says, what kinds of software we can use for social engineering? Again, I gave one or two examples. There are many softwares that you can use. As a good startup, Kali Linux will be maybe a good one. Maltego free. If not, the social engineering tool set is good. But again, there is one great one, which is by Keepnet Labs. You can use simulators. Oz is going to talk about it very shortly. I'm leaving it for him. I'm just scrolling down to see more questions. By the way, Oz, can you help me please with the question part as well? Can you hear me? Am I talking to myself? Alright, questions are coming. I'm trying to find the right part. Here we go. Another question says, Paris Hilton attack, is this real? Yes, it was real. And what was done is, it was basically social engineering threat. I'm just scrolling down to see more questions. By the way, Oz, can you help me please with the question part as well? Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you. But I think my voice coming there
a bit late. Yes.
Am
I talking to myself? I lost Zoom.
No,
just give me 1 second.
Just talk, but you can't hear me, I think.
Alright, questions are coming. I'm trying to find the right part. Here we go. Another question says,
what's wrong?
Paris Hilton attack, is this real? Yes, it was
can
real.
you mute
and what was done is, it was basically social engineering.
Mute Google, please. Oz, can you mute Google, please?
Oz, can you help me please with the question part as well? Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you. But I think my voice coming there.
1 second, please. Okay, Oz. Any questions that you might have that you want to pass to me? How could we create effective cybersecurity culture in our organization with our employees? I think this is a great question to Oz to answer. How could we create an effective cybersecurity culture? As I said, look, you have to, if you're using Windows XP and you are talking about security, unfortunately is not going to be the case. If you're using Windows 10, what I like is the S mode, where you basically restrict everything what is possible. What if you're not using S mode? You can still use Windows 10 with credential guard, device guard, application guard, or you can enforce, for example, I know most of you are not using Microsoft Edge because of some other reasons. You know what my most favorite part is in Microsoft Edge? Application guard. You can enforce users to use Edge in application guard, which means whatever happens in that browser will be in a sandbox area, and it will never ever affect the end user. So all what you have to do is, or if you're using Windows 10 again, you can go and enable network protection with safe screen, smart screen. Even if you're using Chrome or Firefox, it will use the inbuilt Windows 10 defense mechanism to protect you against attacks. So to create an effective cybersecurity culture, you should also do penetration testing or red teaming activities. If you don't have the budget for penetration testing activities, you can use effective solutions such as Keepnet Labs. And again, I'm not really talking about this here because they are running this presentation. I also have a small section in my book which I really love it, and that's why I want you to learn it. And training. Combining all this will create an effective cybersecurity culture in your organization. Another question is, cybersecurity engineers think that the employees are last line of defense. Do you agree with that? I totally agree with that. As I said a few minutes ago, unfortunately there is no patch for human stupidity. So what should you do? What can you do? Test them. Look, if you tell them if you understand, they're going to say yes, we understand, and they're going to click I agree button. But what if you can send them a simulated email which looks like an email from you, and see how they get it behave. So the other question is, the other answer is, or the answer is, not that answer is, end users are last line of defense, and yes, I agree with that. By the way, some of you do say that the voice is coming late. Unfortunately, this is out of my control, but hopefully you are still able to understand me. Alright, one more question. According to Keepnet Labs 2017 Phishing Simulation Trends Report, even IT personnel became victim of phishing attacks. What is the basic motive behind clicking a fake link in an email? I actually answered this question. I totally agree with Keepnet Labs, and if you look in the case study section of my book, you will see that I use some case studies not just from Microsoft or from other third parties, also from Keepnet, because they're doing really good job on this. When it comes to phishing and simulation, they are really great on that. And if you look into details there, I mean, look, at the end, I'm an IT guy. I'm lazy. I want things to be fast. I don't want to be in my weekend in the office. Sometimes, look, myself, Dr. Erdal Özkaya, PhD in cybersecurity and social engineering, couple of masters, lots of books, lots of security certifications. Do you think I can be a victim? Of course. I am at the same time a husband, a father, a driver, a volunteer, a pet owner. Just imagine in a stressful day, let's say I fired my wife, God forbid my kids is sick, my pet is barking all night and I couldn't sleep for some reason, I have issue with my boss, the customer is giving me a hard time, and I'm expecting a delivery from somewhere so I can sign. Actually, I'm expecting at the moment a delivery from Saudi embassy. I'm waiting my passport to be delivered with my visa on it. Let's say I receive right now an email saying your passport has been dispatched. And because I was stupid enough to do a Facebook check-in to say I was in Saudi embassy. Guess what? If you go ahead and check my Facebook, you will see I did a check-in today that I was actually yesterday. I was in Saudi embassy. This is not a usual process which I do. I did it just to be an example for this session. So some people do that, and Someone who is trying to hack me will look at my Facebook post, which is public by the way. Anybody who has Facebook or anybody who can go to Facebook can see that I am in Saudi Embassy. Just do some research. How does Saudi Embassy work in Dubai or United Arab Emirates? You go to this organization, you give your passport. There's two ways to get your passport back with the applications. One, you have to go pick it up. Two, they give it to a courier company such as Aramex, and Aramex will deliver it to you. How does Aramex deliver it to you? They will send you an email, they will send you an SMS. Guess what? What if I receive an SMS saying right now my passport has been dispatched? I will most probably click on the email to track, or on the SMS to track my message. If you put all the stressful dates in, and I really forgot to be the security professional because I'm a human as well, remember? Adam and Eve, I will click into this email or this SMS, boom, I will be hacked. But guess what? I'm using Edge application guard. So in that, it will open it in a sandbox environment and it will not load any username password. Of course the website might load it, but it will have some extreme defense mechanism in it to protect me, to make hackers' job harder. Second, the short answer is yes. And probably I'm gonna leave the Keepnet section to be answered by Oz. Oz, are you there? Would you like to talk about Keepnet Lab? I think there's a few other questions, but we're running out of time. I can answer the questions offline. So Oz, I want to leave the microphone to you. Can you please tell us what Keepnet Labs does? To be honest, I read the section that you wrote in my book and I love it. But can you please tell our listeners? Oz?
Yeah, I'm speaking, but my voice coming there a little bit less. Just give me time to talk about the Keepnet Labs. Just wait, please. Don't talk. Yeah, I'm speaking, but my voice coming there a little less.
Okay, we can hear you.
Basically, Keepnet Labs is an email-based attacks defense platform. Keepnet Labs protects businesses through the life cycle of email-based attacks. Basically, Keepnet Labs is an email-based attacks defense platform. Keepnet Labs protects businesses through the life cycle of email-based attacks. Yeah, email-based attacks faces email-based attacks have four phases that we think. The first phase is planning, where the attackers research organizations and develop attacks. The second phase is the attack phase, where the attackers try to penetrate your email infrastructure that you mentioned many times. And the third phase, users trigger the compromise without being aware this is malicious. And the last phase, data loss, is inevitable. Keepnet solutions all four phases, including people, process, and technology. Our threat intelligence module detects and logs attackers' activity. And our email threat manager and fixes vulnerability in your email infrastructure. Within the compromise phase, our two awareness modules turn your employees into the proactive agents who detect and report malicious email. And in incident responder module, automatically analyzes, finds, and deletes malicious email in the user's inbox. That's why we say Keepnet cover all email-based attacks, including planning, attack, compromise, and data loss phases. I'd like to demonstrate our old module, but I think we have to postpone that to next sessions that we are planning to do that end of this month.
Okay, I have a few more questions which I want to ask. Thank you very much for the insights. I will leave this for your next session to talk about Keepnet Labs. But for me, what I want to do is answer the other questions. At least people are, I answered the questions that I have here. Let me just open the question. Where is it? Where is it? I just lost it. 1 second. Here we go. It's clear that social engineering cases will continue as long as lack of attention or carelessness of human being cannot be prevented. Could the future technologies solve this problem in a certain way? Actually, I believe I did answer this question a bit. Yes, as you said, as we agree, social engineering cases will continue, and a very famous social engineer, for example, Kevin Mitnick, he started to do this like 30 years ago. He was social engineering a famous phone company where FBI was watching them while he was watching FBI, they watching him. I mean, if you read his books, I'm pretty sure you came across that. And when we look today in 2018, January 16, you will see that, I mean, Microsoft, for example. In Microsoft, we really take care of social engineering. We try to integrate lots of technologies to minimize the effect of social engineering, but this requires the end user's effort. What is it? To implement the right solutions. Or let's be honest, okay, I want people to be in Windows 10, but how many of the organizations are now in Windows 10? I know there's more than 1 billion activations currently in Windows, but there is at least double the number Windows 7 and Windows still XP in use. So for those organizations, there is some other methods that we can use, and Keepnet has one of the cool stuff that you can actually where you can use. And I'm gonna leave this for another session. The other question is, can social engineering be used for good of humanity? For example, do states use social engineering schemes to protect their citizens, to arrest criminals? This is a great question, Orhan. Thank you very much. Yes, I believe social engineering can be used for the good of humanity. And if you I want to give for this an example from Hollywood movies. You know, there is a beautiful saying: the good cop and the bad cop. They talk to each other. Someone threatens the arrested guy, for example, "Hey, I'm gonna kill you and nobody's gonna find out." Where the good guy says, "You know what? Help me talk and I will make sure I get you out from here." Guess what? This is basically mind tricks against that arrested person. Where I believe this is maybe it's not the best case for humanity, but if you look, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to give you some case names, but sometimes we use social engineering. For example, Keepnet Labs is using social engineering for help of humanity. Why? Because it's basically a penetration testing. You will do everything what the hacker does or social engineer does. The only difference is you will not harm the organization. You will give a report back. You will create an awareness training. So I love this question. Thank you very much, Orhan, for asking such a great question. The other question which I can see, and this is going to be the last question, what methods are used or measures are taken by countries that are aware of the danger of social engineering attacks to protect the state institutions? Yeah, that's also good, but the next $1 million question to answer as well. I believe they listen to us, they come to conferences, they try to increase the defense forces. If you remember my slide, I had defense in-depth strategies. Many organizations are today implementing these defense in-depth strategies, but what we have to do is we have to minimize the gap between IT and security. IT wants to have IT. They want business to run, where security wants to enforce policies. So there is a gap. If IT and security works together, you know, we always say this, security is a triangle. Let's think security in the top, ease of use in the bottom, and functionality in the bottom, right bottom and left bottom. If you keep the bar high in security, it's going to be harder to use, and it's going to be not the best software to use. If you make it too functional and too easy to use, probably the security is going to be bottom as well. So we have to find the right approach, the right midpoint, where it is expensive for the hacker to attack. Why? Because these days, as I said, attacking organization is easy. Get a bot, get a free software which collects emails from Google, from Bing. Then find a relay accepting exchange server and launch an attack, send your email to 1 million people. And just sit down and wait. That's why it's called phishing. Are they aware? I mean, some countries they're aware, some countries they're not. Unfortunately, this is my personal passion to go to enforce this and to maximize security. I try to reach every person and every human, every person and every organization in this universe to tell the dangers of security. And I mean, this is our mission here at Microsoft as well. Empower every person, every organization on the planet to achieve more. I just tweaked this little bit. Empower every person, every organization on the planet to understand security more. And my very first example, if we know that we are the children of Adam and Eve, then we will know that we are vulnerable to any kind of attacks. Then we will know that there is going to be always a gap where hackers going to explore. We have to be aware of this latest attack mechanism, and we have to implement those into organizations. So we run over time. So please go ahead and tweet with hashtag Learn Social Engineering, Keepnet Labs. Make sure we stay in touch in Twitter. Follow Keepnet Labs at Keepnet Labs, or myself, Erdal_Özkaya. Connect in social media, and promise this is not a social engineering attack. I'm not gonna ask you to fill anything, but unfortunately, yes, you're gonna get a link from me asking to download the books. If you don't believe me, and don't click in this link. But this is the only way where I can share the books with you, but ensure that I am the sender and not anybody else is watching this presentation is pretending to be me. So with this, we're coming end of the presentation. Hold on, one more question. Can social engineering be used for good of... yeah, I just answered this question. I think I'm just ending with this question. Again, thank you very much for Keepnet Labs for hosting this session. Thank you very much for everybody who did join, and we do apologize for the time shift, but unfortunately this is what's happened sometimes. Okay, thank you very much, and my details are here. Feel free to be in touch. Thank you again, and I'm looking forward to talk to you next time, God knows where. Thank you.